ladies and gentlemen, my name's Scyushi and we are back as more Trove, and this is actually a long overdue video. I was checking through some of my older Trove videos to make sure, hey, did I end up covering this? Did I cover this? I'm basically just trying to find things that I didn't end up talking about. And one of them that I find very strange is I never properly covered the skill tree, namely going through it, suggesting my specific build, talking about some other options that you could end up having. Because the only time that I ever talked about the skill tree was actually in videos related to the test server, and then otherwise it was just during live streams. So yeah, sorry about that. So first of all, what is the skill tree? How do you end up improving upon it? So the Grand Orrery is going to end up being the Trove skill tree, and this thing is ridiculously time gated or pay to win. Pay to win to the point where you have to spend either $400 or $1,400. I forget what it was, but it's something insane. I don't remember which shop category all the, there it is. Okay, so in the more section, there's gonna be these constellation keys. And these you can either, of course, spend real money on, but you can also spend your qubits. And if I recall, you'll have to pardon me, it's been a few years. I think in order to get the amount of constellation keys that you need to max out everything in the Grand Orrery, it's 800,000 or something like that. So you gotta be logging in every day for a couple years, I think. It was something ridiculous. I don't really remember the exact number, but basically all of these nodes right here will end up costing these keys. You can also reset the skill tree. I don't know why you would ever want to do that outside of when you're unlocking things. What you want to try and prioritize as you're going through the skill tree is to go down the lanes that you don't intend on investing your time into. My point being is you would want to go all the way to all of these strands and then get as far as you can with all of the points that you can before you end up resetting, because then you got to buy all the way to the further nodes again anyways, because each of these different nodes, namely these ones right here with the keys, is going to end up giving you dragon fragments and a couple different other things like mounts and allies and junk like that. Some of them are very, very specific. Yeah, so you have to go all the way to this node right here in order to get Star Sebastian, which means you don't need to get this node, or this node, for an example. And then the other big mechanic on top of the keys for unlocking the various fragmented slots or whatever is just going to end up being the various resources you'll buy out of this stupid idiot for the Astral Echoes. And the description just says that these are from everywhere. If I'm not mistaken, Astral Echoes are just something that you passively get for either killing enemies or doing dungeons. It's something that is, I'm not going to say time gated. It's something that takes a long time to max out the amount that you need. But you can see that I'm still missing a couple items out of him because I don't need these. These dragon fragments, I already have this dragon, so I don't need this. And then this is just a random title, so it doesn't matter. While the keys will unlock these main circles here, the Astrolobe or Astral Echoes or whatever are going to be spent on these individual slots. Now, as far as what I personally prioritize on the skill tree, I actually prioritize movement speed, and I also have a physical class as my main. So I've talked about this in my extensive class guides and, basically showing how you should end up building your character based on whether you're magic or physical. But there's a couple other little things, little nuance details that I never really got into in those videos because those are just go, 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 try to get to the point as quick as possible. So for me personally, I go down here because of all of the movement speed boost that you end up getting, because this is going to be movement speed boost towards your character, not just mounts. And in that, it's going to make every character in the game a lot faster, even if it's only a small interval here and there. And then going over to the left side over here is mandatory, because this is going to be where you'll get some light value. And the light is, again, mandatory pretty much for anybody at the end game. Light is the one stat value in this game that makes you deal more damage to the enemies at the end game, because basically the way that it works is enemies have an armor value considered darkness. That's as far as the game's code is concerned. It never refers to it anywhere in the tutorials or game at all. But basically, the enemies have this armor value, and the light is the penetration value. So it allows you to break through that armor and deal more of your overall damage, which is why you'll notice as you get further and further in the game, you start dealing significantly less damage. The reason for this initially was because the game was only in 32-bit, and Suffice to say, with some nerd technical mumbo jumbo, basically the digits or the numeric values could only go to a certain height. And then they had to kind of compensate. How do we make players, how do we make this end game area stronger? Because we were technically dealing the maximum amount of damage that we could based on the numeric value. And so that's where light came into play. Now, going up to the top part of the chart here, over here is going to end up being all of your crit damage. And then going up into this node is going to be all of your physical damage. You'll notice that most of these iron nodes are just related to like damage reduction and stuff. And as we know in Trove, you never need to build towards defense. It's all about offense, because if you can kill them before they kill you, I mean, it's just, yeah. We also have death defying or just potion spamming. But anyways, going into this part right here, this is actually going into some of the magic damage and extra movement speed up here. So I only got this most of all because of that extra movement speed, but it means that I'm not seeing the benefit of the extra magic damage that I would get from getting, I guess, up to this node right here. Point being is you could copy my skill tree, but you would end up swapping the physical damage out for the magic damage. There's also going to end up being down here. So this is also going to end up giving you some more magic and physical damage. I forget which nodes it is specifically. It's not as many as I thought, but I'm just saying that if you're a magic-based class, you might just go up here and then you have like a whole bunch of extra nodes that you didn't need for any of these physical nodes. You can basically get the same amount of magic boost that you get for physical. Actually, scratch that. I think the physical boost is slightly higher, which is why so much of the end game classes that everybody uses for big boy chongo damage are physical classes. It's one or the other. It's oddly not even when it comes to magic damage boost versus physical damage boost, which is weird. I will point out that there are a bunch of other weirder nodes that you might want to go for just as you're playing through the game. Like there's a bunch of nodes that will increase your amount of XP gain, but it's not really anything that I would personally put value on. There is attack speed nodes, which I think could only be valuable depending on what your main is. But again, the skill tree itself is just so ridiculously strict because this is the maximum amount of points that you can spend on the skill tree. You can't spend any more than that. I wish that we would be able to just completely max this thing out. But thankfully, at the very least, we can get most, if not all, of the nodes that relate to our damage. But anyways, that's gonna do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Long overdue tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Smash the like, sub for more, buy the merch you want to support the channel. The merch is cheaper than it's ever been, but I am going to have a review video soon, TM, for my own merch, just because I did order a bunch of it for myself. If I don't already have the video out by the time this one's out, because my schedule is going to be all over the place because, you know, my son